Hello everyone, it's great to be together again for our story time. But before I begin the story, I wanted to ask you a question. Have you ever wanted to be someone different than who you are? Well, this story is about a little lamb named Lily, and she didn't want to be just a sheep. The name of the story is Lily and the Good Shepherd. The scene was like a huge oil painting on a giant easel. Rolling plush hills, grass glistening with morning dew, quiet and peaceful. A flock of sheep were sleeping and could be seen in the distance, nestled together as the crisp, cool air of early winter gently blew through their new, thick, soft coats. But just as the sun was beginning to peek over the horizon in a splendid burst of color, a faint and yet persistent blast of a horn could be heard, slicing through the stillness. A shofar! Yet only a slight stirring could be detected among the sheep, and right before they began to drift back to sleep, another blast of the shepherd's horn sliced through their peaceful slumber. Only this one was much louder and impossible to ignore. Waves of grumbling and complaining and groaning spread through the flock as the realization finally hit them that it was morning and they were being summoned by the shepherd. Olaf, the oldest member of the flock, lifted his head and let out a loud, long wail. He then yawned and stretched, but refused to move. "Oh man," he complained, "it's too early to get up. The shepherd expects us to get moving earlier every morning." Well, Kingpin lazily rolled over and slowly lifted himself to stand. Kingpin was the largest sheep in the flock, plus he was their leader. "You're right, Olaf," he said, squinting his eyes towards where the shepherd was standing. "He expects us to come to him every morning whether we feel like it or not. Well, I'm Kingpin, the leader of this flock, and I say humph." He began stomping and kicking at the mound of dirt. Well, this got everyone going. Every sheep in the pasture began moaning and groaning as loudly as they could. Olaf finally got up and began pacing back and forth. "I'd like to get my hoofs on that horn of his one of these days, and when I do..." He never got to finish his threat. Suddenly, everyone's complaints were interrupted by an exuberant, high-pitched squeal coming from a bouncing ball of energy bounding over the crest of the hill. It was Lily. It's Lily, a white bundle of muddy fur with skinned knees and a sunburned nose. "Yahoo!" she yelled at the top of her voice. "It's morning! Get up, everyone. Wait till you see this great pasture the shepherd found for us today. It's so green, it looks like a carpet. And if I'm not mistaken, I thought I even saw some delicious dandelions sprinkled in it. Come on!" Her enthusiasm was met with the usual head shaking, moaning and groaning, and eye rolling from the rest of the flock, especially from old Mrs. Flax. Her arthritis was acting up, and she was in no mood for this young upstart. "Lily, Mrs. Flax scolded. "For heaven's sakes, your loud, incessant chatter makes my head ache. Now you go somewhere else and leave us alone. We're not ready to get up and leave this place yet." Lily's mouth gaped open and her eyes grew wide with confusion. But the shepherd wants to lead us to a place where the grass is rich and plentiful," she whined. "And there's a brook and everything. Cool, clear water, green grass, and dandelions. Dandelions, Mrs. Flax. That's gotta be what heaven's like." Kingpin laid back down with an exaggerated groan. "Why move? We're satisfied and comfortable here. Plus, we're used to it here. There's no reason to move on, at least not right now." But as if in answer to his complaint, a third and very demanding blast of the shepherd's horn came over the rise, causing all the sheep to immediately jump to their feet and start lumbering toward the sound. Lily jumped up in the air and did a little twirl. "Yahoo!" she shouted with glee. "See, the shepherd knows how to get us moving to those green pastures. Hey, Kingpin," she said as she skipped circles around him. "Do you really think there'll be dandelions there?" Kingpin rolled his eyes and began mumbling to himself as he slowly made his way toward the shepherd, shaking his head the whole way. You see, Lily was an enthusiastic, energetic little sheep with one goal in life, and she was going to achieve it no matter what. She wanted to be a shepherd, just like her shepherd. She was tired of being referred to as just a dumb sheep. She wanted to be in charge, and everyone would have to do what she said, because she always knew what was best for everyone, just like her shepherd. Oh, and of course she would be good and loving and brave and strong like her shepherd too. Oh, this wasn't just about her, she told herself. She wanted this for the rest of the flock too, of course. They needed to see that they didn't have to be just sheep. They needed to want more. She had to make them see that being like the shepherd was what life was all about, not standing around all day munching grass and arguing with the other sheep about who's got the real scoop on the ewe next door. That might be okay for them, but not for me, thought Lily. She was going to make something of herself in this pasture. Suddenly feeling frustrated, Lily stopped and looked around. Oh, this day was no different from any other day in the pasture. The sun was shining, sure, but everyone was gloomy and complaining about not wanting to move from their comfortable place. Lily decided to take matters into her own hooves. She had to convince the flock that moving together was the best and the quickest way to get to the greener fields. Lily stomped her little hoof and pulled herself up as tall as she could get. "We need to be unified," she demanded in her best in-charge voice. Kingpin strode up behind her. "What are you doing, Lily?" he asked her. "Don't you know that what you want is not what we want?" Grumpy Mrs. Flax snorted and looked down her nose at Lily. "Why don't you leave the shepherding to the shepherd, little miss? I know what's best for everyone. We were doing just fine before you arrived. Go back to your mama. She needs to teach you your place." Lily was shocked. She quickly turned away so Mrs. Flax couldn't see her tears. Suddenly, she stomped her hoof up again. "No," she said to herself, I won't cry. I need to find the shepherd. He will know what to do. He will tell me how I can whip these animals into submission." So Lily took off as fast as her furry little legs could carry her to a place she knew where the shepherd would be. She found him sitting alone on a rock high above a huge valley. He looked so deep in thought she hesitated to disturb him. But it's okay, she reasoned. This is important. The sheep need to be taught what is right, and she knew she was the one who would have to teach them. Lily boldly marched up to the shepherd. "Shepherd," she said firmly, "I'm sorry to bother you, but we have a problem. The other sheep won't listen to me, and they make fun of me, and they yell at me." The shepherd slowly turned around to face his little red-faced tornado. "Well, if it isn't Miss Lily," he said patiently. "Tell me, Miss Lily, how did you know where to find me?" Lily immediately looked down and began kicking the dirt with her hoof. "Well, she stammered. Suddenly, she lifted her head and looked him in the eye. "Well, I needed you, and I knew you wouldn't mind me coming to you. I knew you liked high, quiet, and secluded places, and this was the highest, most secluded place I know." The shepherd chuckled to himself. "Quiet and secluded, huh? Well, not anymore," he said as he put his arm around her. "Now, what is it again that's troubling you? Your brothers and sisters in the flock won't pay any attention to you?" Lily laid down next to where the shepherd was sitting. "It's not that, shepherd. They won't listen to me when I try to tell them which way to go and the best way to do things. You see, I've been watching you and how you do things, and I think you're great. So I want to be a shepherd like you. And I think the rest of the flock should want to be like you too." The shepherd gently stroked her head. "Well, that's very nice of you, Lily, but don't you think that's their decision to make?" Lily looked confused. "Well, I suppose, but it's just that they're so dumb and stubborn, and they never listen to me. You. They only want to do what they want to do. They say, 'I don't feel like it,' or 'I'm tired of this,' or 'We don't do it that way.' It makes me so mad." The shepherd laughed and poked his staff in her side, causing her to roll over giggling. "Now, Lily, if you really want to be a shepherd like me, you have to see things the way I see them. The other sheep are just responding the way they always have. They don't know any better. You need to be patient. They haven't always had a shepherd to follow. They'll learn. How about a little more mercy and a little less judgment? What do you say? Can you love them in spite of how they respond to you? Me? Even banter and Dutch?" Lily looked away and exhaled. "Well, I guess so," she said rather indignantly. "If you say so." She slowly got up and headed back down the mountain. "I don't get it," she said to herself. "Me and the shepherd only want what's best for the rest of them. How are they going to learn if we don't teach them? Me and the shepherd see what they need." Suddenly she stops. "Hey, yeah, me and the shepherd. We make a great team. That's what I'll do. I'll help him. If they won't follow him to the green pastures, I'll just move them myself." Lily turned, and with a renewed enthusiasm and purpose, she headed back to the meadow. But from out of nowhere, Spike, one of the younger teen sheep, came racing toward her at full speed in his fancy ATV. "Lily! Lily!" he yelled frantically. "Spike," she said, trying to get him to stop. "Slow down. What are you doing out here?" Spike took a gulp, trying to catch his breath. "Lily, it's Banter and Dutch. They're gone. They said they weren't going to be led around by no dumb little lamb pretending to be a shepherd. They stomped off, and now they're gone, and we can't find them." Lily felt her face get red in anger. "Dumb little lamb? Huh? Well, I say let 'em go. They've always been rebellious, and now they'll just have to find their own way. When they see how wrong they've been, they'll be back." Spike shook his head. "It's not that simple, Lily," he said, looking around in all directions. "We all heard, sounds in the hills." Lily looked at him suspiciously. "What do you mean, sounds? What sounds?" Spike gulped and looked around again. "You know," he whispered, "sounds. Bad sounds. Really bad sounds. Like howling." Lily's eyes grew wide and her mouth dropped open. "Howling?" she gulps. "Like wolf howl?" Spike nodded and shuddered. "The very same," he said with fear in his eyes. "The shepherd always warned us to stay together. He's always said that that's where we'll find safety." Lily immediately felt anger rise inside her. "I know what he says, 'cause I say it too. Only no one listens to me. Now we have 2 wandering sheep about to get picked off by the enemy. Okay, I need to think." She began to pace. What would the shepherd do? She stops. "I know. He would go get them." Spike nodded vigorously. "Good idea, Lily. I'll go get him." Lily stomped her hoof and grabbed hold of his fur. "Not him, me!" She started to say something, but thought better of it. Instead, she smiled sweetly. "Oh, we don't need to go bother him. I can rescue those 2 before the shepherd even finds out they're missing. He'll be so proud of me." And off she ran with all her might. Spike panicked. "Lily," he called after her, "wait for the shepherd. It's dangerous out there for all sheep." Lily suddenly came to a screeching halt and angrily looked back at him. That's just the point. What have I been saying all along? We don't have to be just sheep. We can be more than that if we just act like the shepherd." She turned and continued her race down the mountain, leaving Spike with his mouth gaping open in disbelief.